Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dynamics Fortnite Fridays. And Dan didn't get a chance to join me today, and I guess I'm not even sharing my video, so let's get that flipped on. So there we are. Hi everyone. And I might as well just let you know it's going to be a short session today, and it is going to be just me. Dan is out for the day, and there's not that much news because Ignite's coming up next week, and I think there'll be a whole bunch of news dropping at Ignite. So let's just go ahead and jump right to it. And jokes are not nearly as much fun without another person here, so I'm not even going to worry about telling any jokes today. So we'll jump right in with Power Platform news. First thing first, if you haven't registered yet for Ignite and plan on showing up for as many of the sessions as you can, please go do so. Link is the top link in the show notes. Second, if you are an ERP customer and you haven't heard that Convergence is back this year, it is coming back and it will be, I believe, in Florida in December. So click on this and at least register for the virtual stuff. And if you can go in person, even better. So any of our ERP products, whether it's BC or F&O related, that those would be a wonderful place to go gather with your peers and learn all about what's going on in that realm. Copilot Studio, the CAT team, has released a new version of their implementation guide with all kinds of best practices about how to do enterprise-grade Copilot Studio builds and deployments using the Success by Design framework. The link will take you to a large PowerPoint presentation that has lots and lots and lots of great guidance all about architecture and language and AI and integrations and channels and analytics and licensing and testing and all sorts of great things. So take advantage if you are deploying agents built in Copilot Studio. If you are a maker of Copilot Studio agents and you publish them, especially in the Teams channel, that there was always a feature whereby whatever agent was published when someone started having a conversation with that agent in Teams, as long as they were continuing on that conversation and didn't have at least, I believe it was a 20-minute lapse in conversation, that it would continue with that build that was active as they started that conversation, even if the developer pushed a new version out and published it that made it available to everybody else who was just starting a new chat, it would wait. Well, now if you know you're fixing a bug in something and you're like, I don't care if someone started a conversation or not, I want to push this out so that it is the live agent that they are chatting with, no matter where they were in the conversation, you have a way to do that with a checkbox that says forced newest version. So take advantage if that's going to help. If you have not tried our generative pages capability in the model-driven app framework to let AI vibe code you a page of your model-driven app with a completely React-based front end that still uses the Dataverse connector to connect back up to Dataverse and do cool things with that data to visualize it and put a form or whatever other way you want to represent that data from an app construct, go play with it. It is now fully released and generally available. It is supported. It will work with not only native tables, but it'll work with the virtual tables if you're doing something with F&O or a SQL table or a SharePoint table or something like that that you have added. So make sure and take advantage of that. It is completely solution aware, so you can build it in dev and push it to test and prod and source control it. You can go grab and take control of the code anywhere throughout the journey if you want to and you are a React developer. Or if you're iterating, it will version control, because it's solution aware and all those other things, the iteration from one to the next as you continue to iterate and vibe code your way through making changes to it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it has come a long ways very, very fast. So start playing around with this generative pages in model-driven apps. And also pay attention. I think there's going to be some pretty cool things in what was the Canvas framework that didn't require that model-driven app scaffolding coming out in the Ignite timeframe. So just kind of wet your whistle and be looking for something cool there. It won't be generally available, though. It'll just be something new to play with. In Copilot Studio Making, if you weren't paying attention this week, OpenAI released ChatGPT 5.1. And the day they released it, we made it available in a early release environment. Now, remember, our environments have an early release version for testing things that are just now coming out in kind of the experimental phase, and then a standard release version of all those environments where the production supported versions of code and all the options exist once they are available. And this 5.1 stuff will only be in the early release ones, and they do show up as experimental, but they're there right now to either do the reasoning version or the chat version of GPT 5.1. So go play with that model. It's supposed to be way better at especially the language reasoning, not reasoning necessarily, but the language generation. It's not quite so, I don't know, over the top happy all the time. It's much better at just generating good constructive language, and it's supposedly quite a little bit faster at what it does. So take advantage if you want to start playing around with that. Also in Copilot Studio, if you haven't yet connected any of your production agents to Application Insights that's in the Monitor suite of the Azure Monitor capability, that telemetry that gets captured is richer than anything that's in the native out-of-the-box Copilot Studio analytics capabilities. And now, once you've got this connected up, and you can even log your custom events and all that kind of stuff, some example queries here, but the new thing is on the Application Insights side of things, there's now an out-of-the-box, right in the Workbooks Monitoring tab, a dashboard for Copilot Studio that will generate a whole bunch of these charts that are relevant for normal Copilot Studio implementations for you without you having to go build anything custom and come up with your own queries and everything like that. So still customizable, just gives you a nice template to get started with. So that's kind of the new thing I wanted to point out related to App Insights with Copilot Studio. My only other update for this fortnight is on the customer engagement side. If you are using our field service capability, update to the latest version. There's a new solution out there, and with it, I believe, comes a new schedule board experience. The new schedule board experience has been improved in quite a few different ways. You can share a tab directly from the app with other users so they can sort of quickly click on it and see exactly what you were seeing in that tab. Where you've got a fairly busy screen, we used to kind of standardize the width of the various bookings that were showing up on that calendar. Well, now we let it use the text and try to fill up as much of the space as is available with the text that's there, so you get a better idea of what is actually behind it, and it tries to use some AI and other smart sense to understand what to expose, only truncating where it has to just fit the smaller time-framed bookings on the calendar that are reasonable. So take a glance at that. We brought back the satellite map view in case that was a view you liked it. We let you just input an address instead of having to have lat long for your organizational units. We started using characteristics everywhere instead of using it in a few places in the skills and ratings and proficiencies and everything like that and other places. So it's always characteristics now. So lots of visual improvements in lots of different places. Give us feedback if you have any other suggestions, and we're continuously trying to make all that stuff better. Of course, tons of solution updates in a 2-week period, as there always are, so pay attention to those in your Power Platform environments. And with that, it's a 10-minute show, folks, so I hope you enjoyed these quick snippets, and we will see everyone in a fortnight, hopefully with Dan back to share some more of the finance operations, supply chain, HR, and all the other great news on the ERP side of the stack. And we will talk to you soon. Have a happy Thanksgiving.